in the dark, spinning tales from the void never bark. Movie shows, they tear apart. Dimensions clash, they ignite the spark. Couch debates, turn the volume up. Set the chaos over for the cup. Alien worlds and twisted scenes. Banter spreads like electric dreams. Outer dimensions ride the wave. Trying days set flames ablaze. Discussing bits and cosmic plays. Beyond the stars they find their praise. They find their praise. Ripping through the deep.
Guys, whoa. Unnecessary close-up. Whoa.
Whoa.
Come on, camera, go back.
He's playing. Look at the
Technical difficulties, guys. Welcome back again to the Outer Dimensions podcast. You know who we are. Dre and Dave, the brothers of deconstruction, are back again for another episode of the Outer Dimensions podcast. But we got a little bit of a twist this week, a little bit of something different. We're shaking it up, you know, not in the Tay-Tay kind of way. We don't mess with the Swift. Although I'd kick her with my Swift right foot, but that's another story. We are not Swifties here, people. We are not Swifties. If you thought this was a Swiftie cast,
you sound just like your older niece upstairs sleeping right now because she's not a Swiftie at all. She hates Taylor Swift.
Well, you know why I hate her.
Yeah, I know why.
Go Bills! What? That's right. Josh Allen, MVP. You know it. But guys, let's get this going. Of course, who do we have in the chat? First and foremost, always Ultra Cardazilla. One of these days, I will do the Bobby Roode theme on the Dave's Dimension channel. Don't worry, we will do it someday. I promise. Maybe during stream for the Cure, I'll do that, just for craps and laughs. Dre, let me be clear to you. Listen to Tony Todd's voice as the Fallen from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, and you'll see why he should have voiced Ultron as James Spader doesn't do it, in my opinion.
Can I address that? Let me address that because
go ahead.
Because I've watched this movie like 1,000 times, not by choice.
Multiversal moderator.
So Ultra Cart, let me go over this really quickly. Rory, the peanut, she wanted to watch Transformers, got into it. So as you can see, say her name and she appears. So we watch this movie, and I'm not saying it just doesn't carry the arrogance. That's what Ultron, you have to understand, I go based on character. Ultron's character requires somebody to carry themselves with this superiority. Not to the point of like, I'm like, it's not like MJF, to use a wrestling term, but to use a wrestling like idea, he's the epitome of like, I'm the asshole and everybody loves me because that's who I am. But more like he's this superior being that like was created by inferior beings to judge them. He believes himself a deity. And I think Spader does a great job of like, God's winding up and he's ready to throw. Like, I mean, there's just, and then you compare it to the characters he played in other movies and TV shows. I think he does a great job. And since you directed it at me, I mean, if you're going to bring me a guy every week on what the voice is, I'll laugh. Because I can bring you the evidence.
I will say this, Ultra, we're boys and all, but I do have to agree with Dre. Okay? Let me explain. One, Spader has always played these jerk kind of douchebag characters, all the way from the Brat Pack days. He's always played these kind of characters.
Even in Crash, he did the same thing.
Well, we're talking back in the 80s.
Crash,
he's played Less Than Zero, and I mean, just so many movies. There is a really twisted kind of a movie, not twisted like in horror, but twisted like almost dark comedy, weird romance kind of thing. I think it was called The Secretary.
Yes,
James Spader.
Yeah.
Maggie Gyllenhaal. You know what I'm talking about, Dre. He played but I think part of the reason why he was cast. Forget all those other shows, all those other movies that he's done. I think it was The Blacklist as Reddington, as Raymond Reddington. I didn't even do it.
Yes, you did. You had your hand up like that.
Yeah. See, I can't do those gestures, otherwise the camera's going to trigger. Him playing Raymond Reddington, he was this villain that you kind of loved. You know, I mean, you hate to love him, but you love to hate him, and he just like he was that person of the world who he just had that arrogance. And let's be honest, the fact that Ultron was essentially originally a creation from Tony Stark
and Bruce Banner, even though he wasn't created by them, he was created by Reed.
But like the AI, what's the word I'm looking for? The amalgamation, the buildup of it all. You needed someone who could voice like an anti-Tony Stark, and he was perfect for that. He hated Stark. You needed someone who could have that same kind of ego, but let's be honest, Tony Todd, he just has that creepy, dark voice that just like it. I mean, hell, he was Zoom. He was the voice of Zoom, the masked Zoom, I should say, on the CW Flash. He was fantastic in that. Anytime that he does a voice in cartoons or anything, it's usually a bad guy for the most part. But he just has that graspy kind of like force that's been around for centuries or eons in most cases. He always was great at that. And, everyone's got their opinions on it. I mean, who knows? Tony Todd, if he played it, if he would have had the opportunity to do Ultron, I almost said Voltron. If he had the opportunity to do Ultron, who knows what he would have done it or how he would have approached it. There's a few other actors I could think of who would have been interesting to do that, and maybe we'll do a what if episode.
I think we're gonna have to in UltraCard if you want. You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to come on the show and debate it with us. I'd rather you be in here with us than be in the chat and just talking. You want to talk? Come on the show and have a chat with us. And again, Brick, I saw you come in there, so I did say hello. So
you got Brick. Brick something. There you go, saying hey fellas.
But let's actually go to the actual topic at hand, which I absolutely love this topic. I think if you had to compare the level of fandom I have to pretty much Sentai, it's fantasy. And it's funny because as much as I love sci-fi and horror and action and martial arts, fantasy just it has a different note. It just holds a more special place in my heart. I guess 35 years of playing Dungeons and Dragons, kind of
feudal medieval type fantasy is kind
gothic,
of
gothic fantasy
where we're looking at. So, and by the way, this will not be the only episode on fantasy films that we do. We will be doing much more in the future. We were discussing this off camera
for an hour and a half.
Yesterday. We talked for a couple hours talking about the different kinds of fantasy, because really fantasy can cover sci-fi, it can cover horror, it can cover modern fantasy, it could be medieval fantasy, it could even be I'll use the examples we were using yesterday. I mentioned I told Dave, I said, why don't you think of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? That's wuxia fantasy, which we've talked about on this channel before. We've talked about, I told him, I said, what about Dave mentioned the Forbidden Kingdom? That's modern fantasy, a little splash of like never-ending story, Princess Bride energy, where you're mixing the real world into the world of fantasy. I said, what about Journey to the West? I mean, we argued so many things yesterday. It was and we will do more in the future, definitely.
Yeah, we both agreed that we have to do a show dedicated to that. But this, for you guys and girls watching at home, this is an actual episode of fantasy, and the definition for fantasy that Dave and I had agreed to as parameters was the following. It had to be something that was sorcery, including magic, like using magic, and or some sort
of alchemy, maybe.
I mean, well, no, that's not sorcery. Don't make me get D&D nerd. Don't make the D&D nerd pop out on me.
I mean,
we could do an episode on that too.
I mean, science can come off as magic for those that don't, who aren't,
Dave's
don't
only
fully
saying that
understand
because
it.
he plays an alchemist in a game that we played in D&D. That's why, or he played an artificer. But I digress. This was more sword, sorcery, and some sort of mythological creatures like dragons, demons, things like that. So when you see these lists that Dave and I produced, I think that for me, they're quintessentially films that I have watched several times over, can watch, and I still have that level of just like, damn, this is great. Now, some people will argue this, and we'll see what it is. So I'm gonna actually bow out and let Dave go first for the first one, because I want you guys to hear his choice.
Now, by the way, guys, these are not. This is not like a quote unquote the top 3 of all time. It's not that. These are these are three fantasy favorites of ours plus one honorable mention. Okay, and we all know our lists of our favorites change throughout time. So the next time we do something like this, some favorites might make reappearance and some favorites might not. Who knows? We'll see what happens. True. But let's start off with number 3. We have Dragonheart. Dennis Quaid, Sean Connery, and I'm blanking on the actress who is in here, who is also Des from
I'll look it up while you're talking.
Des from Starship Troopers.
Wait, oh God.
Yeah.
I know her name.
And she was also in the Birds of Prey Warner Brothers show way back when.
You're killing me because I know her name. Give me a second.
Killing me, Smalls. Kill me, Smalls.
Go on with your reason.
So Dragonheart, I love Dragonheart because it was a different, Dina Meyer. Yes.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
I digress.
She's
okay.
Freaking Isaacs. Let's
go. Yeah. But Dragonheart was a different kind of a movie. It was a fun movie. I think this was like mid to late 90s. I think this was
1996.
Yes, you are right, Ultra. Dina Meyer. Yep. This was like mid 90s, but this was a different take because we hadn't really had a whole lot of Dragon Slayer or Dragon type movies. And what was cool about this was Dennis Quaid is like this Dragon Slayer, this knight who he kind of winds up being like a mercenary. He was like a knight of a court, but then we know how regime changes often happen. He eventually kind of he's forced to kind of like make a living as kind of a mercenary type, but he comes across a dragon voiced by Sean Connery of all people. And they just, they strike up a bargain because he is the last dragon ever. No show enough jokes? Okay. He is the last.
Right.
Here's my Converse. He's the last dragon supposedly in the land. So he strikes a deal with Bowen, which is Dennis Quaid's character, that what they'll do is the dragon will show up in towns and villages, and Bowen will be hired to slay them. And he obviously will do very poor aiming at the large, spears that they use. And the dragon will fake being killed, and they'll do it from town to town so Bowen can make money and they can just kind of like go on their way. It's almost like medieval Frighteners, if you think about it. The Michael J. Fox movie with the ghost.
I know exactly. I'm not commenting. This is yours.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
And for me, it was a fun movie, and of course, it has its seriousness, and you get these two mortal enemies who are eventually become much like brothers, best friends, and it's a fun movie. And this is something where you could sit with your kids, you can sit with your friends, and just enjoy it. It's a fun popcorn movie from the 90s, and I always loved it.
I think that for like, and Dave and I talked about this. Now, mind you, first time ever, folks. You guys are gonna fall out of your chairs. First time ever. I got to know his list before we did the show.
Yes, I unveiled the list yesterday, but let's just say someone might have pulled an audible. We'll see what happens.
If you fucking did, I'm gonna be really pissed because I've prepared. Don't do it to me. But let me get into my reasoning behind Legend. Now,
And I hate you for picking Legend, you bastard. You bastard.
so Legend is, to me, the true first Dungeons and Dragons inspired film. And the reason I say that is because Tom Cruise, I mean Hollywood elite, Mia Sara, you have Tim Curry as the Darkness. You know, you have realistic horror effects, but you have, I think what solidified this movie as a true D&D movie was, I remember my D&D group in college. We were watching this movie at my friend's house. It was like one night where we didn't have a game, and a bunch of us like decided like say, screw it, we're just gonna watch a movie. And we ended up watching Legend. And we all agreed that when Tom Cruise was in the bog fighting the witch, the hag, and he strikes her down, he like comes up out of the water and he strikes her with the sword, and the sword glows like with this bright energy after she falls. We're like, he leveled up. We all said he leveled up. We're like, that's what leveling up is. And I mean, mind you, I was like late teens, early 20s when I saw this with my friends. I mean, the freaking darkness, Tim Curry, just the horns, the arrogance, the way he's just larger than life. And it's, you know, it has so many typical fantasy tropes in it. It's just, I think, the best film. It's not the best film on this list of mine, but personally, it's so high up on the list, it had to be number 3. And that's why. Now, granted, this is like the late 80s this movie came out. So, wait, what did Brick say? Brick said, love this genre and feel like we really haven't scratched the surface of what's possible in it.
Oh, we haven't.
Oh.
And we would love to have you on in another episode to do fantasy films. So,
well, Brick, listen, you ever want you know you're going to be back on the show, and I was going to save this to the end of the show, but Brick is actually going to be on the show in about 2 weeks. Not 2 weeks, a week's time on the 21st. We're doing the hero's journey on the 21st. Yes. So February 21st, Brick will be on there. And then Allison is going to be on the week after. And then on March 21st, we're doing the second episode. Or sorry, is it the third episode? Third episode of the Tokusatsu, the Sentai talks. So
yes,
that's going to be the next one.
By the way, 1985.
Thank you. I was close. I said
85.
Yeah. So thank you. I don't mind that. But that's what we're doing. And again, fantasy films there's so many. Like Dave and I went back and forth over these so many times.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the whole point. We like to break these films down. Yeah. I mean, like I'm not tooting our own horn, but there's not many YouTubers out there that do what we do. Like I said it before, Dave and I, when we see a film, we text each other after we get out of a movie, and we ask each other what we liked, what we didn't like, what we see.
Except I can't do that next week because you'll be seeing that movie the next day.
Exactly. So Saturday night, Dave and I will be.
There's a 24-hour embargo on that.
Exactly. And then we are going to now. There will probably be something Dave and I will work out to do an episode that might be pre-recorded for a later date to discuss the Brave New World. You guys do know that we don't always like to do newer films. We are trying something new in season 2 of the show. Yes. So we might be doing
expanding
it later on.
TV shows and other
cartoons,
categories.
TV shows and categories. And I do actually, Dave, if you don't mind, can I mention something on my channel that I didn't get to do earlier? I did make a video, but I don't want to. I'm going to take that video.
I mean, you don't want to toot your own horn, pun intended, with Legend.
Well, just so you guys know, I didn't post an episode of the representation in cartoons today because I didn't get. Jesus, Dave actually puts a freaking horn sound. Love him. I didn't get to film it because you guys can see behind me, we're in the new house and we're still moving stuff in. So since I haven't had a chance to finish the studio and I was unpacking boxes, I had time to make the spreadsheet, but I didn't have time to actually film. So I'll be filming this episode for this week in episode 4, and they'll come out on the 21st. So you'll be getting 2 episodes back to back. And then it'll be back to regular weekly video drops on Fridays. So let me go back. So Dave, what is your number 2?
Well, first, before I kind of wanted to touch base on what you said. I mean, Legend. When I found out this was Dre's pick, I was like, "You son of a
He was
mother!"
pissed.
Because
he was cussing me out yesterday. Was funny.
Yeah. Because I mean, it like Dre said. I mean, Tim Curry, with the exception of the red makeup, the horns, and the extension on the chin, that is his face. He can do that kind of evil kind of just
You do realize
grin,
that he was
and that was his actual voice.
You do realize he had cloven hooves and
Yes.
black fur. So
Yeah.
did you know, and I don't know if anybody in the chat knew this, McFarlane made a movie Madness. I forgot what the movie Fanatics, like the evil series of characters, they made like an actual like 1.5 foot tall
See,
diorama.
I did not know that.
Dude, it is the coolest thing. My friend had it. My old DM when I first started playing D&D back in college, in his room, he had that thing, and it looked so dope because it's like you see darkness stepping through like an archway, and then they have like a little figure of Tom Cruise on the side of it, like that.
Well, how about? I mean, I'm not as well versed as some people on this channel with Mythic Legions, but could you imagine if they did a Mythic Legions take on some of our movie fantasy films? Like, what if they did the darkness as a figure?
I'm gonna actually reach out to Oz. That might be something we can get Oz in on a video because and I know Blake collects a lot of Mythic Legions too. It'd be kind of cool. Maybe we could actually get one of the guys on here and have them talk about why they haven't. Is it a licensing issue? Because I don't know who owns the license. I think Universal has.
They've done like I think I've seen like on some of Oz's streams, they've talked about how there's certain characters that are kind of like inspired by certain things. Like there's some stuff that's almost Motu like in some respects, or people Kid Bash
tribute. Yeah, they did the Motu tribute.
But could you imagine if they did the darkness though?
That might be something. He would be an oversized figure. I mean,
was it Joe who was on with him on Offworld? He showed a kind of a mashup with some mythics where he did his own Geralt Rivia.
I got Rivia. Ooh, okay. So
I mean, it looked like it could have been Geralt's cousin twice removed, who like the Danny DeVito of Witchers, but it looked very cool. It had the hair.
He had Cavill and Danny DeVito on a movie poster.
I mean, hey,
hey,
there you go.
Hashtag that, folks. Hashtag
there you go.
Twins,
how about a remake? How about a remake of Twins? How about a remake of Twins with Cavill and Jack Black?
Oh God.
Or Kevin Hart.
Why not? Oh God, yeah, why not?
Just saying. Hey, make it happen. But no, Legend is just, it's so epic and like you said, it is D&D. It should be the first D&D movie, technically speaking, ever.
I think honestly,
because you have the party, of like you get everyone of different backgrounds kind of brought together, and they're going on this quest. And me and Sarah just, I plead the fifth.
The dancing.
I plead the fifth. Yeah,
she dances, and then you have the. I mean, and the whole thing is like people argue that Legend and Conan the Destroyer. Conan the Barbarian, not the Destroyer.
Okay,
folks, if you didn't know, Conan the Barbarian and this film are both kind of neck and neck for D&D films because of the fact they both had parties. They led a group of adventurers. They went on an adventure. They did something.
I can see that because you had the wizard. You had the wizard,
the rogue, the barbarian.
Yeah, you had everybody. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the Conan movies I think are definitely, they kind of shout D&D, but this is more like well, it's not just humans. You're dealing with was it elves and dwarves in here? You have the
Creatures of the
unicorn.
Fae.
You have you have all these. I think it's more colorful, so I think this really embraces the world of D&D, whereas the Conan movies embrace the party element of D&D.
And for those of you that ever want us to do that, I actually am pretty, and I'm not, again, Dave, toot my own horn. I know Hyboria, which is the actual world of Conan. I've played run D&D games in there, so we could always do an episode where we talk about, like, kind of deep dive into the mythology of Hyboria, how Red Sonja is not even tied to the Conan universe, even though she's a character that exists in Dynamite Comics and in other things. And the Franzetta, we can go, and I think Brick would love to come on an episode if we did that, because those are like old school magazines that my uncle used to draw when he was working as a cop and in a jailer, actually, in New York. So he used to draw like images like that. It was really cool. But let's, I guess, go to picture number 2, or slide 2, please.
We will. I just want to pull up something very quickly since we're on this subject. I'm going to see if I can pull up that stream we did, if I can find it. Where was that episode?
And if you guys see me eating, it's because I had a late dinner today. It was a crazy time at work, and I was ending up talking to another good friend. Shout out to Oz. I was talking to Oz for like an hour on the phone, so I didn't get to really eat. So I went back to work, and then I had to feed the kids, take care of the wife, and then come back to work, and then my food got cold. So now I'm eating it on the stream.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find the link later. I was going to pull up the stream we did when we went over that, actually.
Oh, cool.
Where we did those movies. So I'm going to have to try and pull that up later.
And we'll put that link, and we'll put the link in the video so you guys can actually see it. Oh, dude, I can't even eat. Let me just off topic. Ultra, ever since I had my gallbladder removed, I cannot stomach fried food, and I can't even eat fast food. Like, the only fast food, David and I have talked about this, I can eat is Shake Shack, and it's because they freshly cook it, and I know the temperature of the food. I can't eat like McDonald's. It makes me sick to my stomach for days. So, let's slide numero dos.
There you go. Dracula Untold. That was my pick for number 2, because I know this is, and Dre will shake his head. It's a bit of a departure, but it does fit the medieval fantasy kind of realm, and it's a different approach on the Dracula mythos that we normally see in the movies. This is Dracula Begins.
I just pictured Batman as a vampire. I had to shut my mic off because there's so many things I want to say, because we talked about this yesterday, and I had this very visceral reaction when he said this. I was like, this movie is a horror film. It's like a fantasy kind of tied to what they aptly called the Monsterverse before the Kaiju verse took the name Monsterverse. That's why you have Godzilla and the Monsterverse currently, and Universal lost the rights to that because they chose to, after, what was it? Partially because this film and The Mummy did terrible, and because also Johnny Depp was going into the issues with Amber Heard, they canceled the entire Monsterverse, because the Invisible Man was supposed to be Tom Cruise. It's not Tom Cruise, but supposed to be Johnny Depp.
Yes.
And then they were going to have Jekyll and Hyde, and they were going to actually do a team up where they were supposed to be, because this movie gives you an allusion to Satan, and the rumor was they were going to fight Satan, and that group was going to fight Satan in the modern day.
And well, this movie ended with such a, like, it would have been great to continue on, but
it's so good.
But this is a whole take where his people are going to be hunted down, and he makes the Faustian deal for the power to protect his family, to protect his his village, his kingdom, so to speak.
His son.
You do to protect your family, and he takes it on, and there's some amazing scenes. You talk about sword scenes. There's amazing fight scenes with him before he does the deal, and then after the deal, I mean, he is literally unstoppable. He's, he takes like a whole horde of them, and when he returns, one of his men was like, how many did they have? It just turns it into this thing where, like, yeah, he is unstoppable, but then he has to he needs more help. So that's kind of like the whole beginning of the Dracula curse. Even his Renfield is magnificently played by a character who we usually see in TV shows and B and C action movies. He was actually in the third or fourth Death Race movie. He played a reoccurring bad guy on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's done in a lot of great movies. He's just never really broken out. Luke Evans is freaking amazing in here.
Love his character.
I mean,
we'll circle back to Luke Evans eventually in this.
I mean, forget like him appearing in Fast and Furious. That is friggin' nothing.
Nobody, you know what? Nobody.
He should have blew up after this.
Like, you don't. Nobody. And it's so funny. Like, I want to do a deep dive into that series because there's so many characters like in that series that they kill off or they disappear
or immobilize and
then we never see them again. And like, there's so many lost things because of the franchise kind of falling apart after that whole Hobbs and Shaw thing. Which was a great film. Not gonna shit on it.
It's an awesome standalone film, and Idris Elba is friggin' phenomenal. But we're not going to talk.
He touches anything, it's gold.
I mean, he's doing the friggin' Sonic movies, and he's rocking it.
Dude, he's Knuckles. You gotta love it. I love Knuckles, and he voiced it for the TV show too. Knuckles is my favorite character in the Sonic universe.
I've only seen the second movie. Up to the second movie, that's it. I'm behind.
Peanut's watched the first two movies, and she hasn't watched the Knuckles series. She wants to though.
But the art in here. Now, I'm someone where I'm watching a movie. If this past week broke down the Fantastic Four trailer, which me and Dre have different opinions on.
I love it.
But
can't wait for it. Excited.
I will, of course, see it when it comes out, but I am not overly psyched for it. But I appreciated the art of the film. When I say the art, I'm talking about the sets, the clothing, the aesthetics of it, having the atmosphere. And that's definitely something they did in this movie. It wasn't just like what should I use for example? Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. I
think the cinematography was not bad in that film. The writing was terrible.
The cinematography wasn't bad, but I felt like some of the sets just felt like, okay, did they reuse this from something else?
Recycled.
Yeah,
it's recycled.
But like with this Dracula film, I mean, everything felt fresh. I mean, you felt like you were immersed in that world, in the battlefields.
Again, remember,
they went all out.
Part of that whole monster.
This was the first step into monster. This was the first step in that MonsterVerse,
and it was successful. We talked about this film.
I saw this in the theaters, and I friggin' loved it. It was just too. Like I felt energy from it.
Link that video in this one, so because we did do a deep dive into how successful this film was and to why the MonsterVerse failed.
Yes,
because we actually talked about you had Russell Crowe in The Mummy, and it was such a damn good film. I want to see something before I even get into Ultra. I made it clear that I hope Fantastic Four First Steps is a big improvement. All right, so I'm going to address this right there.
Well, everything is a big improvement over 2015.
Now, wait, I will say
they could do a cartoon, and that would be a big improvement.
So I will say this, and
then go see this.
I loved what a YouTuber had said today, earlier today. He said if they do plan to do what a lot of people are suspecting, Miles Teller will return, but he'll return as the Maker, which is, for anybody that plays Marvel Rivals, the dopest Reed Richards skin you're going to get. And if you don't play Rivals in the comic books, he is the villain that was a Reed Richards from the multiverse, the Ultimate Universe, that lost everything but went mad with power. So it's a great story.
So kind of multiverse of madness when you have the Twisted Strange who had the third eye and everything.
Honestly, it's exactly like that. But the Maker just became a god. and then he went to Miles Morales because he wanted him to join up. That's a comic book thing. We may actually deep dive that on this channel too. I've done it on my channel, talked about doing it, so we may do it on here too.
There you go.
See. But let me talk about my pick. Now my
Universal Monsters is in the chat right there. I put that in there.
All right, good. And now I obviously chose Willow. And I mean, how could you not, folks? Like I try to, and Dave knows this, like I look at fantasy films and I have watched Willow 1,000 times, maybe more. And I think of one line, and my wife laughs because I bleat like a goat. Mad Martigan, Mad Martigan. When he did that bleating of a goat, I died laughing as a kid, and as an adult, I absolutely laugh at it still. I mean, you had an all-star cast, which were relatively semi-known. But Val Kilmer was probably the most well-known because he did Top Gun prior to this film. So he had that under his belt. But you didn't see like anybody else.
I think this was kind of a departure. Because he like you said, he did Top Gun, but he mostly did comedies before then, like Real Genius and Top Secret.
Yeah, Top Secret was great. We need to talk about those films one day. Maybe we got to do a Val Kilmer tribute episode because I love Val Kilmer. But this film, again, it plays up on the fantasy trope of somebody that is in a village of magic users that doesn't know how to use magic. He uses like what we would consider like Chris Angel, like illusionary, like but realistic illusions, like hiding the stone, but make like the optical illusion, not the actual bending the weave, so to speak. And I love that throughout the film, it's his heroic journey to go on this quest to save a baby girl, to go on this journey. And then when you watch the TV show, which I love, Disney Plus did the TV show. I know the TV show failed. It was good.
I enjoyed the show.
It was good until it wasn't good. And I'm going to leave it at that. We will probably discuss it at some point. But this series did so well in covering the ideas of the dark fantasy, the fated one, the hero rising up to the occasion, the fallen hero that wasn't a hero, the evil queen's daughter stepping up to becoming a hero because she didn't want to have this injustice. It's
the evil queen's hot daughter.
Oh yeah, she still looked good even though she was like 70 something when the TV show. I was like, man, they did a good job. And overall, this film, I love the artwork. I love the cinematography. Tons of practical effects. Again, pre-CGI. Now, am I going to not say that we're going to see in my other two choices CGI? I'm not going to lie. We are. I'm just leaving it at that. So that's my number 2 choice. And, again, love me or hate me for it. I think Willow is quintessentially another great film I can rewatch any amount of times.
Willow's that comfort food. It's
is.
that comfort film that just like it takes you back. I mean, there was a big push for that movie because I think this was a Ron Howard film, if I'm correct. I could be wrong. It's
Ron Howard. No, it's Ron Howard.
Okay. Because it had that kind of warmth that you see in some Ron Howard films, but this is not your typical Ron Howard film, too. And this is Warwick Davis, for those who don't know.
Harry Potter.
Wicket from Return of the Jedi.
Harry Potter. He's the potion. He not the potions master. He was the leprechaunish.
But hey, he was the leprechaun.
Yeah, no, but that's why I said he's the leprechaunish. But he's a gnome. He's a gnome, and he is then Warwick Davis is actually cool because he was also in several other things, and he's done a lot outside of Willow and outside the fantasy realm.
Listen, he did an awesome character. He did an awesome character named Porridge in an episode of Doctor Who, actually. So I mean, yeah, he's down for doing everything. Not in that kind of way, kids. Would calm down. He's just, I mean, Warwick Davis. I mean, he's a great actor. He's appeared in so many different things. He's just, I mean, Val Kilmer was like, wait a minute, long-haired Val Kilmer. What's going on with this?
What a name,
But
too, Mad Mardigan.
Matt Mardigan.
Like that,
Yes.
that's a badass name, and he had that dope ass Claymore that he fought
Yeah.
with. You know, he had the cool ass armor that was like almost like Captain America. Like it was all clean when he was talking about his past. But
Yeah.
then because he fell from his knighthood, it's all tarnished and damaged, and he fell into like drinking and women and gambling, and it's like you see this. It's such a great buildup of the hero and his team versus the evil queen and her hench people.
I could see him and Captain Jack Sparrow getting along. I could see them being best buds.
Why's all the rum gone? You savvy?
That could have worked in fantasy.
No,
Pirates of
because
the
it's
Caribbean.
modern. It's modern.
Are you sure? Pirates of the Caribbean? Come on.
I consider it action fantasy.
With Davy Jones's Locker. I mean, there's a whole
18.
there's mysticism in every one of those films. So
You know what? We might have to put a poll up on our channel. What do people consider?
not that kind of poll. What? Oh,
Yeah,
you're talking about voting poll.
Yeah,
Okay.
voting poll.
Okay.
And again, Ultracart, yes, Willow was the personality in TNA wrestling of Jeff Hardy. And that's what Jeff Hardy has aptly called his persona, like his brother Matt Hardy when he does the Delete personality. Jeff Hardy, if anybody doesn't know, Jeff Hardy does like jester-ish makeup, but like it's gray and black and it's very dark, kind of how Bray Wyatt had the Fiend in Bray Wyatt. So kind of a precursor to that. So
Oh man, could you imagine Bray Wyatt got to do a film on his?
he was supposed to. You do realize that that's what he was working on after his
Yeah,
after he got let go from WWE. He was working on
it would have been
horror
great.
film. It was, and he was working with like top people within Hollywood to design the universe and the world, and not Kane Hodder, folks. We're not talking Kane Hodder or Kane
No.
as in Governor Kane. I'm talking like this would have been hands down an awesome film.
Although he did get his own horror movie.
See
but that's
No Evil,
another story.
and its sequel, See No Evil 2.
Let's see, No Evil wasn't. The first one was pretty.
No, the first one
It
was
was
great because
decent, yeah.
WWE Films was smart. It was the sequel that was terrible because it was a cash grab.
So we're gonna move on. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I went with King Arthur because, and I just watched this for the very first time. I like the take on it. I like how our boy Charlie plays King Arthur. I liked all the principal actors in here, and some of the principal actors are the quote unquote, you see in the downtrodden kind of period piece films. Because I'm blanking on the actor's name. The black gentleman who he's been in Guardians of the Galaxy, Gladiator. You know who I'm talking about, Trey. He works as like an armorer in this film,
Give me a
or
second. I need to see.
a weaponsmith.
Oh, Digimon Honsu.
Yeah, him. You get what's it? Jude Law's in here. I mean, there's a lot of good people.
You had a lot of
Yeah.
names in here.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a fun film, but it's definitely a good take. It's a modernization of the King Arthur myth.
David Beckham was in here.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? A football player was in here? Football. Now, for
Soccer.
non-Americans,
Soccer.
it's soccer. I'm not going to call it soccer.
Soccer.
It's football. The ball gets hit with your feet. I actually like Manchester United. I'm a soccer fan. But when I say football, it's American.
I mean,
football.
are you
When I
going
say
to
football? It is
what?
soccer.
You're Manchester United. You're not Wrexham.
No, I'm not Wrexham. Not because of David. Not because of our boy Ryan Reynolds.
And what's his name from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? They're Connors,
Charlie
yeah.
Cox.
Yeah. But I mean, I liked this take on it. It was fun.
Eric Bana was the king.
So I mean, I liked how this was a nice modern take on. I mean, this is what within the last 10 years.
2017.
Yeah, it's within the last 10 years. It was a nice update. It wasn't trying to like, oh, it's not the typical Sword and Stone. Like they really took it down a little bit of a different approach, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. Was it good enough to be in my top three? It didn't resonate enough with me for that. For me, like a lot of times, if I'm picking a movie, I have to know specifically what our metrics are or what our requirements are, but then also it's got to be something that I vibe with. It's got to be something that I get a feeling from. And if I don't, then that's kind of the whole thing. It's like, well, so that's why I went with this as my honorable mention. Dre,
And I'm reading
tell us
something
about the
because,
Hobbit.
well, before I get into that, I will address something because I forgot. I remember that this film was done by Guy Ritchie. So if you
Yes.
guys are very much into the edgy kind of where he does those fight scenes, like a la
Yes.
the Kingsman and the Kingsman, all the trilogy of Kingsman films. He's very much into that very or Sherlock Holmes. He's very into that like the dark gothic, a lot of lighting, and he does focus a lot on the mythology and the story. He does a lot of lore building and world building. And one of the cool things because I'm reading the story and I'm like, oh yeah, when I saw this film, I didn't even pay attention to this stuff. But he does. It's the actual
The gentleman.
the fantasy of the actual Pendragon's tale,
Yes.
which is like the actual story of Uther Pendragon, like
His father. Yep.
and it goes into the actual character that was tied to European mythology and European, not history, but like dipping more into the concept of dragons and spellcasters like Mordred,
Morgana.
Morgana, and obviously,
Merlin.
Merlin and all that fun stuff. So
That little weirdo.
So now I'm gonna actually get into what I said before. So prior to our lead in here, I did say that we were going to talk about CGI. Now, the Hobbit series, I don't love. I don't love the first movie, even though I love the book. The Hobbit book is great. And for those of you that have watched these films, a lot of people get confused. They think, oh, it's all the same book. No, it's not. The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, and the Battle of the Five Armies is all tied between two books, the Silmarillion and the original Hobbit book. Why this was done was because they didn't have enough source material to do a trilogy. So Peter Jackson got together and they kind of embellished Smaug's story and then added it in. Like Tauriel's character does not exist in the Lord of the Rings mythology. If you watched the Rings of Power, or if you've read the Silmarillion, or if you've read, the original trilogy of books, which I think are fantastic. If you haven't read them, I love Tolkien's references to World War I and World War II. If you are very much into that stuff, it's a great telling. Just my personal story on that. Now, why do I love this film? Smaug. Who does not love a big ass red dragon that is the prototype taken from the D&D books and placed in there? A red dragon fatted on eating dwarves in a cave buried under piles and mounds of gold. And all they're looking for is the ring. Now, we call it the One Ring. Get it? Don't get it twisted, folks. There are actually 3, plus the other ones that were given to the 10 men, the rings of men. Because you have to look that there was the 3 rings for the elves, the ones for the dwarven houses, and then the ones given to the kingdoms of men. Now, I'm not going to get into that. I think Dave, and I haven't mentioned it to Dave, but I did want to do a Tolkien dedicated episode because I love this series. I love all of that stuff. Now, this film, Benedict Cumberbatch, I mean, Sherlock, Doctor Strange, Smaug, Dormammu, everything that this guy touches.
Cumbersnatch, what?
He's amazing. And I love this. I love the sequence where there's the line that Smaug says that solidified this movie as one of the best fantasy films I've seen. And it's not the best, it's one of the best, is where he goes, I am fire. I am death. When he said that, it sent chills up my spine because that's how the movie closes. As you see this red dragon flailing off the gold that was melted onto him, and he flies right over to the river town, and he says that line, and then it's like, and I was like, no! I remember being in the theaters. I was like, no, we gotta get more. And then I had remembered reading the books, and I love Theoren Oakenshield. It's such a good character. Again, a hero's journey. His house is disgraced. The dwarves are removed from the kingdom of Moria.
There goes the stream.
Well, hello.
We got the archer himself. Let's just recap a few things here. The Hobbit stuff was pulled from the book and the Lord of the Rings appendices. Don't think there was much in there for the Silmarillion.
From the Silmarillion.
But I could be wrong. The films are clumsy, but I dig them. I think the Lord of the Ring or the Hobbit movies are fun. They were just kind of like, well, we did everything before. We did everything later. Let's go back and let's. Well, they kind of squeezed as much as they could out of it. Let's be honest.
So here's what's from the Hobbit, and here's where it's from the Silmarillion. So the ideas of the orc armies fighting Theorin, the fact that the kingdoms fell and it was the Arkenstone, that's actually mentioned in the Silmarillion. Because for those of you that are not history nerds, the Silmarillion is like a history of Middle Earth.
Yes, I'm not a nerd.
Here's why I'm going to say I'm a nerd, and that I'm going to kind of do my nerd until somebody can pull one of these out on me and say they have a map of Middle Earth.
What the frack?
Yeah, this is a map of Middle Earth.
I mean,
that's my desk mat for my work computer.
I mean, I have a Sumerian map but that's a Ghostbuster thing. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah, but that's why I know they took parts. They didn't take everything, because there's also the book my wife just bought me, which is the rise and fall of Numenor, which is actually kind of the last human city and elven city where the races were all living in harmony. It's actually tied to the Elven Isles. It's shown in the Rings of Power. So you actually get to see the rings being forged and understand why, Sauron and Saruman, how they're like tied to being angels. It's a very interesting thing. But this movie, to me, again, a bridge film. Empire Strikes Back. You get Empire Strikes Back, great film. Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, great film. Bridge films to keep you intrigued. It's the number 2, and I think that this is why it'd be number 1 if I didn't have a better choice for the number 1, which we'll be talking about next.
Which is crazy if you think about it, because usually sequels aren't traditionally as good as the originals.
And we talked about this too.
Yeah.
In season 1 of the show, we had a whole thing where we talked about some sequels being way better than their predecessors, and it's hilarious that we've seen that.
Brick here says, "I loved what I loved most part about The Hobbit were the dwarves' characterizations and the music and songs." I'm a big score fanatic, so I can definitely get behind that. Sometimes, I mean, you could have the best acting in the world, but you could have crap scores, crap instrumentals, crap music to it. And I mean, there are some people, let's just say certain directors out there, James Gunn, who picks the perfect music for his movies, and it elevates the scenes. It elevates everything to just mind-blowing proportions. So I can definitely get behind that
song when he was in the court in Return of the King, singing the funeral dirge. and that gives me chills because I actually bought the soundtracks for each of the films when I was living in New York. I bought them on CD, and I loved Perry's song because it's so powerful, and it's like the words, because you hear them just like echoing the sentiments of like through hollow. I mean, like this shit is just, oh god, it's so good. And I actually have it on my iPhone now. It's in my my music library, but it's a fantastic film. I think the musical score, like I said, Cumberbatch, the dialogue between him and Bilbo, Bilbo meeting our later obviously Gollum in this film, and we're traveling through Middle Earth from the Shire. We're meeting Gandalf is kind of more of a prolific character. We're introduced to other characters. It's got such a rich history, and I do agree the dwarves in this film, I think in this series of film, were very much given tribute because they needed to be. We didn't see the dwarves until the last movie of Return of the King in the first series, and they really did them up well. And it's ironic that we didn't get a full game, because we technically got two games where the dwarves were talked about. It's a Lord of the Rings game that came out on PlayStation 2, where you can actually go into Moria, the mines of Moria, and actually play the dwarves during the fall of the Dwarven Kingdom. And there's I think 3A, not 3A, was it not EA Sports? Sorry, EA made a game that was a top-down, turn-based RPG that did Lord of the Rings as well, where you could play as the dwarven army. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, but how big of a fan of Lord of the Rings total would you say?
I'm gonna say I'm nowhere near as big as Dub, like Brian. Big shout out to you, Big Dub. I hope your mom gets better. I'm not gonna put your business out there. I do know that your mom. You mentioned it on your YouTube channel. You've been on my show. You're a very good friend to me. You are probably one of the biggest Lord of the Ring fans I know. That you actually own the original toys from the 1970s and 80s.
Yeah, but does he have this?
He probably does.
Leonard Nimoy album, Ballad of Bilbo Baggins. Did you know about this?
I've heard about it, and I never seen it, but I've heard of it, and I bet you Doug probably has the record.
You need to check this out at a later point in time. There's several videos of this cover of this song that Leonard Nimoy released in the 70s, the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins, where he's got like 60
a wrestling
go-go.
podcast? Can I say, why is it a wrestling podcast is the one that pulled this up?
This is just one I pulled up. I can just...
I know, Squared Circle. I just find it funny that Squared Circle podcast is the one that pulled
Squared Circle. There's a few other channels that have done it. So yeah, you can find it in here. It's a good enough laugh, and I figure, hey, we're talking about music, so why not?
Speaking of Leonard Nimoy, I can't believe it. Yeah, it's been 10 years. We're gonna do a tribute episode to him too, because Dave and I are diehard Trekkies, or Trekkers. We're not Trekkies. Is a
hey. I do identify as a Trekker and a Trekkie.
Oh, you identify? So, I identify as a Trekker.
Yep.
So let's go to number one.
Number one with the bullets. Sorry. What's this? Neverending Story 2, Pan's Labyrinth.
That's 1. A good one. I didn't even think to throw that in there.
Okay, so we're gonna go to number one.
Oh wait! Before you go to number one, I want to just what Brick said. Brick, I wanted to mention it and I forgot to say it because we went off on a little bit of a tangent with the Leonard Nimoy thing. Bard the boatman. Oh no, sorry. In the Battle of the Five Armies, what are you going to do, bowman? Because he has the bow, because he's going to fire the arrow that was made to kill dragons. If you actually know, Luke Evans was Bard. He was in the second film, and he's in the third film of this series, which is Battle of the Five Armies. Very good role. The kids, I felt, were almost not necessary to have but every character I see him play always has a tragic wife die. Like it's Vlad, his wife dies in Dracula Untold.
Yeah.
Bard the Bowman, his wife tragically dies in childbirth after their fourth child. You know, it's always hilarious. It's in a sense that you have to give these characters a tragic backstory, but it's because I think that a lot of people don't like the fact that. Yeah, I'm not even gonna get into that. That's a whole different topic.
And I want to welcome GZDR4EV on the Dave's Dimension Twitch channel, because we're also simulcasting the Twitch. So thank you very much for participating, and please consider checking us out on our home, which is the Outer Dimensions podcast channel on YouTube. So please check us out. We have plenty of videos and streams for you to check out. So come on and check us out.
Wow, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That's actually a good one too.
Yeah.
It's a great book series. I think if we were to include TV series, the Wheel of Time series would have probably been added in there as well.
I've never watched it because I'm an evil person.
You are. You know, there's a lot of Terry Goodkind and did a fantasy series of novels that was recently converted into a TV series or a movie series. There's been a lot of good stuff out there. So,
Ultra,
definitely.
you have a good night, man. Go get your rest.
All right, Ultra, you take it easy, bud.
The after show
All right,
will
number
be
one.
beginning soon. What? Huh? Okay. So here we go, Dre.
Wait, Dave, I got an idea.
Yeah.
We need to make a T-shirt, and we'll put this T-shirt OF Only Films.
There you go. Our Only Films page. There you
Only Films page, baby. We're hashtag it right here,
Hey.
folks. Only Films. That's what we're gonna be doing.
So, Dre, are you ready? Somebody pulled an audible.
I knew you were gonna fucking do this. God, I hope
Do
we get that
you have a guess?
God, we talked so much yesterday.
Now,
I lost track. of
Originally, I did have the Never-Ending Story in here because it's something near and dear to my heart. But I decided to flip the script with something that came out maybe a handful of years.
Wonder what he picked. I'm confused. I knew. God, okay, folks, you don't understand. Before I drink my coffee and almost spit it on my computer and my microphone, Dave had, and I talked about this, and we joked about this film, saying the sequel was far worse than the first film. But this, I like it. It's a damn good score. I'm not gonna even talk about it. Dave, go ahead.
I mean, it's the RZA. It's the
Batista.
ever loving RZA.
Batista.
You
was
get
in this film. I
Batista in
forgot.
here. I mean, Lucy Liu. We got Russell Crowe in here. We got so many greats in here, and anyone who ever grew up listening to Wu-Tang, you know their love of kung fu films, and the fact that RZA scored so many amazing films,
Ghost Dog.
including Ghost Dog.
Facts. Look at that. Great
Okay.
line, folks.
Including Ghost Dog, which I still have on DVD. It's one of my favorites.
Don't do your finger gesture, because look what your thing. Your gimbal started to go after.
Okay. I'll do this. I can do this because if I do the
Or do like this. Can you do this? No, because it'll
do
catch
this?
it like that too. Yeah. Okay.
I'm looking for Tommy Tongue.
You better watch
Golden
out.
Child. Golden Child, man, come on. Golden Child could have worked.
That could have
It
worked.
could have worked for this.
I
Uh,
like this.
Crawl. Trust me, I
He
went through
argued
my
this
list
one
of
with
Crawl.
me
I
yesterday.
thought about Crawl. I did. With the Glade. I mean,
And
come on.
Beowulf would have been a good choice, except for the
Yeah.
fact that it was Beowulf and this is the teacher brain in me. It's a narrative poem that a lot of people didn't like the CGI because, and it really
Listen.
didn't. Grendel's character should have been more played up. They didn't.
Well, there's been a few versions of Grendel done,
No. I'm talking Grendel, not
or Beowulf
not-
rather.
not- Beowulf has been done in other films, but the way
Yes.
Grendel's character, because spoiler alert, folks, Grendel is Grendel is the son of Beowulf and the actual monster. Like, she took on a humanoid form. They had a baby together. That baby is Grendel, and that's who is basically the antagonist of the Beowulf film. But like, it's not really known till the end of the thing, but you find it out early if you read the narrative poem. I recommend reading the narrative poem, educate this, and then watch the films.
Now, Iron Man with the Iron Fist. I mean, it's at first like you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, they threw RZA, they gave him his own movie, but then you see like Russell Crowe's in here. You see a lot of heavies. A lot of heavies are in here, and not for nothing, it seriously kicks. This movie kicks like it's nobody's business. I mean, it is. If you love kung fu movies, like you get the warrior.
Movie.
What?
Eli Roth, the guy who did.
Yeah, he was in there.
The horror director, the
he actually has a part in here. Yeah,
and I'm not saying that to be insulting.
He co-wrote it with RZA.
Dang, man, they had a lot of Pam Grier. Get out.
Yeah, she's what was the last time you watched this? I mean, this is straight up an all-star, and I mean, it's got that vibe with the warrior who has to learn the ways to master himself and his chi.
And it had two famous, actually, Hong Kong cinema actors.
I mean, it had a lot of greats in here, and this is a movie that seriously slaps, man. This kicks like it's nobody's business. Literally. The soundtrack is just, I mean, obviously it's the RZA. It's RZA. He freaking kills it. And this is just, it's a great movie. Even the prosthetics, like they don't make it look cheesy. It doesn't look like some rubber gloves that are painted to look like they're metallic. I mean, they did a great job, and this is just, it's an awesome movie.
It is.
I mean, you get basically a blacksmith who gets his hands chopped off, and then he using chi, his chi or ki, however you want to look at it, uses this energy to he gets these prosthetic hands, and then he's able to actually fight with them, and it's just,
which he made.
Oh yes,
I mean these hands, which is dope,
and it's just a killer movie, and like Dre said, Dave Bautista's in here. And I think that might be.
This is Drax
between
no.
First and second Guardians, maybe.
Yes, it's 2020. It's 2012.
Yeah.
So this would have been between 1 and 2.
Yeah. So it's that time frame. This is like Russell Crowe. He started to put on some pounds. This is like Superman, right before he started really putting on the heavyweight. But Lucy Liu's in here.
Jarrell.
Huh?
He looked ripped.
Yeah,
he looked in good shape.
But I mean, he was adding a little bit to him, but then he really got kind of portly. Like, look at Thor: Love and Thunder.
Thyroid. That's his thyroid, though. He actually is. He has hyperthyroid problem. That's why.
Okay. A long way from Virtuosity with Denzel Washington, though.
Facts. Dave and I can go. We can, folks. We can go.
This is what we do. We go from film to film. But no, this one hits on so many levels because I'm a sucker for soundtracks. As someone who was a DJ back in his high school days, I was big into soundtracks. I mean, you're talking to a guy who has over 500 physical CDs, and then not counting my music database, a lot of the stuff is soundtracks. So a soundtrack goes a long way for me. But the action, I think it was a very good balance. And I mean, like we said, it was written by RZA and Eli Roth. Eli Roth really doesn't write bombs now, does he? I mean, there's. I think it's all in the execution. Let's just say.
It's
no pun intended.
I know facts. That really is. For those of you that don't get that joke, Google Eli Roth and his and Google his in IMDb his career. So, and again, for those of you, just so I can get that, for everybody that when I called him the Jew Bear, that is not a racial or derogatory term. It's actually his character that he plays in Inglourious Bastards, which is
another great film.
Great film. Tarantino, kiss, love it, chef's kiss. He is the kind of the muscle for Brad Pitt's team in that film. So 100% love Eli Roth. He's hilarious. Wow, I'm very. I can't disagree with you on this. Like, I'd love to disagree with you, but I'm like, there's so much good to watch. I'm gonna watch it tonight while I'm unboxing.
I mean, It's just great. Now, the second one, not so much, but we're not going there.
Okay, we
So,
left the second one alone.
so you already mentioned Two Towers. So, give us the full course, not the appetizer, but the
All
full
right.
course.
No
Serve
amuse
us.
gouche, no appetizer, the full deal. All right. So, as I said, I don't watch films anymore in the typical way I watch films. When I saw this movie, this was one of the, like, I think in my adult life, I've gone to the theater multiple times for selected few films. This is one film I saw with my D&D group. I saw it with the girl I was seeing in college. Was it college? Might have been grad school at the time. And I saw it with my mom. And it was by far such a fantastic film. Like, this film blows me out of the water. From the fact that we were left with Frodo and Sam getting ready to go into Moria to go drop the ring, cast the ring into the fire. We've now been introduced into the Elven Kingdom, and we are now introduced to Aragorn, and then you're introduced to the splinter of the Elven Kingdom, Galadriel, Lady Galadriel's kingdom. You're seeing so many different sides. It's like you're literally in a wartime film, seeing the heroes on the different battlefronts, all trying to contest for this one piece, this one ring, and who literally would rule them all. And I think it was just great storytelling. I think there's several lines from this film that I love quoting, like when they were like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, you wouldn't take a staff, make an old man part with his staff, would you? I told you to take the wizard's staff. Why didn't?" And then my man and if y'all didn't know, that is Adam Copeland, Edge, that's in the background as an extra in this film. Look it up, folks. This is one of his first acting roles he did before he started doing Haven on Sci-Fi Channel. So I absolutely loved Gandalf when he's like, "Yes, I was Gandalf the Grey, and now I'm Gandalf the White." Like, you get the level up, you get the background story about his fight with the Balrog, and then you get the biggest thing is what actually a lot of people that don't know what went behind the actual setup for the Battle of Helm's Deep, which is the last hour and a half of the film, is literally just this one battle. And I think it is quintessentially Endgame is the only battle sequence I can equally compare in the gravity of what you're seeing on the battlefield. You have Theorin, who is the
And intensity, I would add.
I would. Theorin, he's the king of the Rohirrim. You have the riders of Rohan. Theorin is sitting there. The rain starts pouring. It's so atmospheric, so dense with the characters. Like, you have people that are like sons and fathers and grandfathers and brothers, like, sitting there, and then you have the orc armies rolling up, and then you have like Aragorn, like, trying to rally the troops, because Aragorn's still trying to find his place, because he's no longer like, you actually have him fighting his internal battle as being Strider the Ranger, or as Aragorn, the son of the king, that's no longer on a throne. Because obviously, if you guys don't know, Isengard, which would have been his family's ancestral home, was taken from him, and there is a steward in Isengard, which is Boromir and Faramir's father, who is the steward in Isengard, which is the ivory tower. I mean, again, I can go with the whole lore of this film.
And by the way, he's my favorite character.
Oh yeah, which one? Oh,
Aragorn.
John. Oh, Aragorn. Yeah, I mean,
Strider. He's my favorite character out of all the Lord of the Rings movies. That's him.
I'm torn because Hugo Weaving did such a good job.
Oh, he kills everything he does.
Because I loved him, and I loved the weaponry, I love the armor, I love and I love the differentiation. Like Brick had said earlier, these films separated the cultures. Like you actually see what the elven armors look like, how it's
Yes.
sleek and very ornate, almost oriental in design of like in this Asiatic design. And you have the dwarven armor, very typical Nordic and Germanic in this like block condensed heavy set. And then the humans are more rudimentary, almost close to what we would call
Primitive?
early European, early European. This is the
Bronze
historical
Age.
brain. Like no, this would be this would be Steel Age, so it's
Okay.
past the Bronze Age because Bronze Age they didn't have similar things. And I don't want to nerd out too much because I could Brick and I could probably nerd out on this with the historiography of it. Just I think the battle that happens at Helm's Deep, it set a precedent that CGI wasn't able to know how to handle that many characters and how to control them. And Peter Jackson had to hire a team to help. And the only reason I know all this is I bought the 12-hour with all the extras Blu-rays. And if you have that set, it's a great set for any true fan to watch and actually see how he talks about the grid patterns for the battles and how he studied actual historical fights like Attila the Hun, the Romans, and tried to adapt all these different armies to have these different
Well, like
styles.
those mammoth carriers and everything that they had in there was
Like how they and for lore people that those are like the characters that we see that we never like heard of, like the mammoths that are fighting that are obviously which are in a later that's actually the Battle of the Five Army, not Battle of that's Return of the King, when you actually see those mammoths with the four tusks. Those are actually from a different area of Middle Earth, so they're like kind of in the same area of where like of Numenor, which is already gone at this point. But I digress. Again, I think this film, a bridge film, where like Treebeard, I love his character because he's so like ADD. He was like, well, we need to discuss the Ents are going to discuss what we will do with evil orcs, and they were the hobbits like you. And then he's like, we've decided that you are not orcs. You are indeed hobbits of the Shire. And like, then they were like, well, why are we standing here arguing? And you have these so many different perspectives that you're talking about of like of a massive battle. And then, they realized when the Ents were when they were using breaking the forest and the trees were crying, I love when Treebeard's like, the Ents shall go to war. And like you had that battle over where Saruman was, and I mean Christopher Lee, R.I.P. Great job for the character. I mean, again, just an overall, I think it's a great film. That's for anybody that I think wants to get into the genre. It's this film didn't even win the Academy Award. Ironically, it's the third film, which I don't think is nearly as good as the first two. But I can always be argued against that Return of the King is probably the best. But there's people arguing Empire versus Return of the Jedi. That battle can exist. So that's my number one pick. And I think that Dave's pick by far is superior to what he had chosen because I agree with him 100%. I think Man with Iron Fist is. I'm actually going to rewatch it now tonight because I forgot Batista was in it.
There you go. Now, guys, just so you know, next week we will be on hiatus.
It's Valentine's Day.
Because we're doing 3 weeks on and 1 week off, and then we'll be returning the week thereafter. So next week, like Dre says, it's VD. It's Valentine's Day. Not the other VD.
So many jokes, Dave.
Not the other one. Not the one that you need a shot for. Don't worry. But we'll be back the following week. Who knows what we're going to talk about that week?
I do.
What is it?
I do.
What is it?
If you guys already heard a while ago, but if you're tuning in later, this is actually where February 21st, we will be covering the hero's journey. So yes, folks, this is the teacher Dre brain coming out, and I got to talk with the wife because she's also a school teacher, which you already know.
Wait, she is? When did this happen?
I know. Like she's been doing it for 8 years now. Crazy. But for those of you that did not know, Mrs. Dre, she is like awesome, and she is
she puts up with you, so yeah.
She does. She has to put up with me. So that's she wins right there. She actually is a language arts teacher that wanted me to do something for the hero's journey. So we're going to be talking about 3 films and deep diving what makes them the hero's journey. Now, I'm not going to be a douche and say why, but I will say the reason partially. I was watching a stream one night and somebody kept saying the hero's journey over and over, and they were defining it in the wrong way. And my wife overheard it. So she overheard me watching a friend's YouTube stream and got mad at me. Don't ask me why I got blamed for it, but because somebody else said something, it got her thinking and got her talking to me about it. I then discussed it with her and was like, the hero's journey, well, you walk me through the steps. And she's like, well, you idiot, you wrote me this. And we went through the steps. And we're going to kind of take you guys on the reasons why we chose these 3 films. Now, mind you,
some might say we will take them on the hero's journey.
Exactly. And I think that when you guys are walking this journey with us, the 3 films are 3 genre different films. And they're, when I say genre, it's almost down to even what they would be categorized as. Like, one's a Disney film. Yes, I will say that. There is a Disney film. There's actually 2 Disney films. One's a Disney collaboration, a Disney film, and then one film film series we mentioned today. So we're going to talk about that. And Brick will be on there giving us his thoughts, his insights, and providing some extra commentary on our team. Because we love that on The Dimension.
Yes, sir. And guys, as always, please, if you have suggestions, you can reach out to us at the Outer Dim Pod on Twitter, the X. You can follow us on Instagram at the Outer Dimensions Podcast on IG. Email us at the Outer Dimensions Podcast at gmail.com. And of course, don't forget to check out Dre the Geek Dad. Our links are in the video description below. He will be dropping 2 videos next week, Friday.
No, the following, the 21st.
The following Friday? Okay,
yeah,
the 21st.
Yeah, because Valentine's Day, I gotta be with the wife and the kids.
So he'll be dropping 2 videos on his channel. Do you want to tease what those videos are?
Yeah, so I actually was talking to Dave briefly about this the other day about representation in cartoons, and a lot of y'all are loving this, and I thank you for the support. It means a lot to me. We're going to be doing 2 TV shows, and then the last TV show, as I already spoiler alerted, the 5th show in the of this first series I'm doing is going to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And that's going to be a topic that a lot of YouTubers are talking about, but I'm going to look at it from a different scope through a different lens. And I'm going to be doing that in 3 weeks. But the third episode will actually be about Steven Universe, because a lot of people have loved this show. I didn't particularly love the show, but I want to discuss it because it is one show that many people feel was a very big representation for the LGBTQ plus crowd. And then I'm going to go into another cartoon series, which was Young Justice, because Young Justice, I feel, not the Justice League, not Batman Beyond, which I could do, and I could do the whole DC cartoon universe. I chose Young Justice for a reason, because they actually did something that a lot of shows I was surprised that DC I didn't expect to do. And I'm going to talk about it on my channel then. And then the 5th episode, do Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And those will be dropping on February 21st at noon. And, always tune into our to this channel, my channel. Check my IG out, because I'll post updates there as well. And Dave, what do you have cooking in the pipeline there?
What do I have in the pipeline? Well, let's see. Well, by the way, this past week's Dave's Dimension on Tuesday nights, the Tuesday Night Talks, we actually did an unbox of a hot toy. As this hot toy I had secondhand, So if you guys want details on that, I may be cutting up that stream and chopping it up to an actual video to drop at a later point in time. Let me know. But Dave's Dimension has some tech videos coming up, including I left the evil empire of iPhone and I switched over.
Not evil. You left me.
Switched over, and I am now a Samsung Knight. So we switched over to that. So I have some tech videos. I have an unbox video for that. Top of the line screen protector by I believe this is Spigen right here, and I also have some earbuds basically from Samsung. That these are $180 earbuds I got for $17 because they had a very awesome deal with the trade-in. Samsung's still doing the trade-in value. I'm going to be having a separate video for that, but we also still have some unboxes to do. I got some figures courtesy of Dre the Geek Dad that I still have yet to open up.
And don't forget, I do have another package coming ready for you because I did get him some more stuff.
Yeah, if USPS doesn't get lost.
No, it shouldn't get lost. Hopefully, and folks, for those of you that don't know, Dave and I have been dealing with the issue for him, not from stuff I sent him, but from something he ordered online. It's taking forever to get to him, and it decided to go 2 hours away from his house.
It actually went to Buffalo, which would be like 20 minutes from me, and decided, hey, we're going to go to Rochester, which is like 2 hours back. So it's a whole story. It's a Mayfex figure at that. So stay tuned for that, guys. But we got a bunch of videos coming on. On the Dave's Dimension channel, we are also looking at possibly changing Tuesday Night Talks to a different night.
I thought that was really cool that you said you were going to do that. Do you have an idea? Yeah. Have you kind of figured out an idea for when you're going to do the new show?
Right now I'm contemplating Monday nights.
I remember. So, hey, Dave, I mean, if you don't want me throwing this idea out there, and I like kind of doing this on the show, I figure maybe you get some feelers out there. If you wouldn't mind doing the show when I get off my shift, we can do something that I used to do on my old channel 3 channels ago called Outside Interference. It was a wrestling kind of toy channel. We talked wrestling, we unboxed like wrestling figures, or we talked wrestling.
That I have to take into consideration with the fact that I work early on Mondays and Tuesdays.
I know, yeah, that's the sucky part.
So we'll see what happens. I'm still gonna take it on a review. I've had 1 or 2 people say, "Hey, we want you to stay on Tuesdays," but there's a lot of other streaming happening on Tuesdays. Mondays tends to be a little bit slower, and then in the heavy seasons, I'm contending with like Monday Night Football, so it's not really that much. I mean, who wants to watch the refs cheat? So
look at Blue says, "Watch that." He says, "You can do
it. You can do it." Oh, I won't finish that. But that's our show for this week, guys. Hey, Blue, what's up, Blue? You doing good? You staying warm? Did you pick up some Timmy Hose?
Oh, that's actually some good coffee. We actually can buy the pods now for us down here.
Yeah, I mean, but do you have any Tim Horton coffee shops though?
The closest one is Virginia.
See, that's the thing. Tim Hortons is something you got to have. And I mean, it has
he's not a coffee drinker, folks. Food. I'm the coffee drinker in this relationship. Yes. Dave's not. I love coffee. I love Tim Hortons.
They have good donuts. They have good breakfast sandwiches. They are definitely a step above like your McDonald's type fast food breakfast sandwiches.
You know what? I'll risk.
And their French vanilla ice
for McGriddle. I love McGriddles.
Their French vanilla ice caps though are really good, really good.
Oh, Brick! Listen, my dude.
Right, guys, I got. Yep, here he goes. He says, "Thanks, guys. I gotta check out some of these. I've. You gotta sleep. Who sleeps? Come on."
He slept on those. He slept on some shows.
Probably the Young Justice. Young Justice was underrated.
It was
underrated. It was good. I wish they could have continued it on. There was a campaign, a petition, but
didn't they Kickstarter that campaign?
They're trying to, yeah.
When I do my deep dive,
see, Blue's like, I'm off to Tim. Sure, there's a blizzard outside, but I don't care. See, he's in Canada.
Hey, get me some. Send me some.
Yeah. By the time he gets it to you, I don't think so. I don't think I've had Tim's, but I feel like I must have in Montreal. If you're anywhere in Canada, there's always a Tim Hortons somewhere. That's like Starbucks here in the States.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Ricardo says sleep is overrated, but I do have a
Agreed.
question. Hey Archer,
Agreed.
Archer, Archer. Look at me. I'm calling
Steven,
you
he's
out.
calling you out,
I'm
Steven.
calling you out, Archer. I'm gonna cut this promo on you, buddy. Yeah. Let me talk to you. So
Hold up. Let's do it proper. There you go.
So let me talk to you. So you say Fantastic Four you're just not interested. I love you, but now I want to get you on this show on Fridays where we can talk to you. If you got your schedule clear, and I want to get it maybe from March the 7th, I would love to talk to you and get not only your opinion, but pick your brain and kind of go over what you think about. So I'm calling you out, man. You gonna answer the call?
Wow. You have to throw answer the call at him at the end. The Nerd Buster Supreme himself.
Did you like that? Did you like the way I threw that in there? And I did a mic drop.
But here's the thing. I agree with him. I agree with Archer that the trailer alone, there was some great art aesthetics. I love the scenes, the wardrobe, everything. It looks great. However, it's not enough to get me psyched. I watch it and I don't feel like I don't feel the way I felt when I saw the 2000s Fantastic Four with Chris Evans and Jessica Alba, Michael Chiklis.
And Io and
yeah.
His last name.
My phone was disconnected, so I missed all calls. Wow.
Wah, wah. I want to see you Friday, March the 7th. Bring that ass here, boy. You're going to come on this show, and we're going to have a little
steel cage match. TLC. You on TLC?
We're going to have that talk, and I want to see you. I'm going to bring my AEW.
You know what?
Tony Khan doesn't have the belt except that it's in a briefcase. I'm going to bring you the AEW title belt.
Copyrights. Listen, copyrights be damned. I will play some intro music for him. If he comes on the show, I will play some intro music for him. That is fitting of Archer.
Exactly. Tell us what your music is, but I want you.
No, I know what his music is.
Oh, he's not Cody.
No.
Hey, Vanessa Kirby's more than enough reason to watch Fantastic Four.
I'm only watching Fantastic Four because of. There you go. Hey.
Hey, Pedro Pascal gets to tap that ass, boy. Just saying.
Remember, Daddy's a state of mind.
What suitcase are you talking about? Apparently you don't watch the crap that's AEW, where Jon Moxley has the AEW title in a briefcase right now. So I have my crappy little AEW title. Sorry, I have to do that because I don't like them anymore. But I would love to have you on and challenge you to actually see the nerddom. See the nerddom of you mess with the geek dad king who's got the hammer to show my worth. Oh, you're gonna be Ric Flair? You Ric Flair? You profiling? Woo! So yeah, definitely, Archer. I want to get you on here March the 7th. I already called you out. Folks, March the 7th, I want to talk about Fantastic Four, and I want to hit him
or we can even pre-record it to fit his schedule.
That's true. So
we can always do that.
If the private jet can't fly you in, we could always figure it out.
You know, maybe his private jet is getting waxed that day. Who knows? I don't know.
Maybe he's getting waxed that day because he's a fellow Ayo.
Glad you went there and not anywhere else.
Bald man like me. I went there, folks. Keep it clean. For those of you that are on the podcast listening, I pointed to my bald head. The cabeza, top of my head.
Listen, guys. You see Dre, that's nothing but turtle wax, okay? Just keep... Yeah, I went there.
Yeah, Dave went there, not me.
I'm sorry, I got a full head of hair. And we're the same age, and
I shaved
nothing but a full head.
I shaved my head. I don't need hair.
Yeah, because there's no play for Mr. Gray.
Well, I got gray. Oh, I will actually see. We're gonna dub that episode the trailers episode. We're gonna talk about Fantastic Four. We're gonna talk about Brave New World, and we're gonna talk
I
about
watched the trailer last
Jurassic
night.
Park. I loved
I'm
it.
not impressed. I'm not impressed.
I told Dave there's 2 reasons to go see that movie. I'm gonna say it out loud, folks, because my wife's asleep. Titties and dinosaurs. I love them both. Velociraptors and Scarlet J. Got me ass.
Garjo.
Love her. Hey, Mahershala Ali's in there, so I get Blade somewhere. I don't get him in the
No. He's
get
not
him
Blade
in
because there's only
Universal
one
film.
Blade. There's only gonna be ever one Blade.
I was waiting for you to say that. But yeah, folks. So definitely, Archer. If we can get you on, we'll work. We will schedule with you. But the challenge is open now. If we don't get to do the episode that day, folks, we will definitely record it, and we will talk about that. I would love to do the trailers episode, and let's do it. Let's make it happen. I want to talk about it because I love. If you guys have not subscribed to him on IG, do Nerd Affiliated or to go to his
Nerd Affiliated, the real Nerd Busters on Instagram, and don't forget to check out, of course, the Hey Archer Nerd Affiliated channel on YouTube every Thursday night at 8:15 ish p.m. Eastern Time. Go ahead and check out Hey Archer, and of course the rest of the crew of Nerdy at the Nerd Affiliated. You got Ramblin' Nerd.
And it's Dre the Geek Dad, Archer, the Geek Dad. And that's an inside joke for Archer, me, and Dave, folks.
Is it a stipulation? The Call Me Daddy match? What?
I have the robe.
Oh, God. Please keep the rope closed, please. I already wear glasses. I don't need to go completely blind.
I love the same reason. Yeah, dinosaurs and Scarlet Joe.
How about Scarlet Joe riding a dinosaur?
Oh my god. I would buy it. It's gonna be make a steel case with her on the cover, folks. Put her in the top with a gun and a dinosaur.
You could buy the Jurassic Park dinosaurs, get a Black Widow action figure, and make it happen, Captain.
I have several. And I have a Mafex and an SHFQ Arts version.
Now, is it several dinosaurs or several Black Widows? The answer is yes.
I don't have dinosaurs. Those were all Rory took them all, but I do have Scarlett Johansson's.
There we go, kids. There we go.
Look, you gotta love us, man. We get spicy.
Well, guys, that is it for the Outer Dimensions podcast this week. Please don't forget to comment, subscribe, and like. Hit that bell for notifications, or else Dre's gonna cry. Please do. Don't forget to follow the Outer Dimensions podcast on YouTube. We are I am looking at currently getting the new episodes transcribed, or should I say transcribed, but audio over to a podcast platform. We may be doing the one we did before, but we're still trying to regain access to our old files.
Which is still a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's still a whole process. As you can see, Dre is still getting the Geek Dad
lair.
Cave, the lair.
No,
the lair.
Lair. You called it.
The lair ready because they just moved into the house. They have a few chaotic things going around in the home base there. So please, Dre's going to take a couple weeks to get everything up and running 100% perfectly. And please don't forget to follow us on the Outer Dim Pod on Twitter, and of course the Outer Dimensions podcast on Instagram. So please follow us there. You can also follow Dre as Dre the Geek Dad on Instagram,
yes, you can.
on of course YouTube, and there is the Collectors Safe Space Facebook group still.
Yes, there is. That
is still active.
It's got like 500 people in it.
So
going strong.
So if you guys are collectors or you're just into some very awesome YouTube content, go ahead and head over there on Facebook. That is Dre. That is the Collector's Safe Space. Just look up
just the
Collector's Safe Space and check it out. And of course, Dave's mentioned you can find me on Instagram. Please don't mind anything you might have seen. There's been some, like just everywhere you go on social media, there is drama here left and right. There was a little bit of drama that was on the Instagram today, but that is not something that is on the regular, guys. But guys, you know what we always say. Dre, what's the line?
I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Guys, be well, be awesome. And you guys know what I'm going to say. I say it every single time. Keep on busted. And we'll catch you on the other side.
Peace, y'all.
Later.
Dre and Dave hit it hard in the dark, spinning tales from the void, never bark. Movie shows, they tear apart. Dimensions clash, they ignite the spark.